Welcome to Starbound, where every star tells a story. What happens when the greatest insult against our species, humans, becomes an inspirational battle cry? Let's get into the story. The year is 2683, a beacon of hope in a universe teeming with intelligent life. Humanity has long been known for its peaceful expansion, its diplomatic prowess, and its relentless pursuit of knowledge. But then tranquility is about to be shattered. On the fringes of charted space, Outpost 42, a small but growing human settlement, orbits a desolate moon. Its silver domes gleam under the harsh sunlight, a stark contrast to the barren landscape below. Within its walls, a dedicated crew of scientists, engineers, and security personnel work tirelessly, monitoring warp signatures and maintaining communication with distant colonies. Among them is Commander Elias Carter, a seasoned veteran with a heart of gold and nerves of steel. On this seemingly ordinary day, an anomaly appears on their long-range scanners. A vast armada of unknown origin emerges from warp, their ships as black as the void, their hulls adorned with strange, pulsing symbols. They move with an eerie silence, their sheer size dwarfing anything humanity has ever encountered. A chill descends upon the outpost as alarms blare and the crew scrambles to their stations. Before anyone can react, a chilling message crackles through the comms in a guttural alien tongue, translated simultaneously by the outpost's AI. Pathetic humans. Your existence is an insult to the universe. Prepare for annihilation. Commander Carter watches in horror from the command deck as the alien ships unleash a barrage of energy weapons. The outpost shields buckle under the onslaught, throwing off sparks and showering the interior with debris. Through the viewport, Carter sees a beam of pure energy slice through one of the domes, instantly vaporizing the scientists inside. He hears the screams of his crew over the comms, their voices choked with fear and pain. The outpost's main reactor explodes, sending a shockwave that tears through the station, ripping it apart piece by piece. Carter is thrown against a bulkhead, the impact knocking him unconscious. When he awakens, the outpost is gone, reduced to a cloud of debris drifting in the cold vacuum of space. The only sound is the ragged rasp of his own breath inside his helmet. The news of Outpost 42's destruction sends shockwaves throughout human space. Grief and disbelief quickly give way to anger and a burning desire for vengeance. The alien insult, intended to demoralize, has the opposite effect. It becomes a rallying cry, a symbol of defiance. On Earth, the heart of human civilization, the reaction was visceral. Crowds gathered in city squares, their faces etched with shock and anger. Virtual protests erupted on the Interlink, the global network connecting billions of minds. Grief counselors were deployed en masse to help people cope with the trauma, but the pain was too raw, too deep. At first, the alien message, pathetic humans, was met with disbelief and disgust. How could a species capable of such wanton destruction be so arrogant, so callous? But as the days passed, the phrase began to take on a different meaning. It became a symbol of the unprovoked attack, a constant reminder of the lives lost and the threat that loomed over humanity. Artists and activists started incorporating the phrase into their work. Murals sprang up on city walls, depicting brave human figures standing defiant against the backdrop of alien ships. Musicians wrote songs of resistance, their lyrics filled with the anger and sorrow of a people wronged. On the Interlink, virtual banners bearing the words "pathetic humans" were proudly displayed on avatars and profile pages. The phrase, once an insult, was now a badge of honor. It was a declaration of a fight that all humans would take up, a war cry to stoke the hearts of all humans, an insult which would ignite the spark in everyone's heart. It was now the battle cry for everyone. They called us pathetic, Admiral Helena Zhao proclaimed in a rousing speech before the United Earth Council. They believed us to be weak, insignificant. But they were wrong. We are not pathetic. We are human! And we will not go quietly into the night. The council chamber erupted in applause, the sound echoing through the halls of power. The words "pathetic humans" were now emblazoned on the official seal of the United Earth Fleet, a constant reminder of the enemy and the fight that lay ahead. The transformation was complete. The insult had become a rallying cry, a symbol of rage, and a warning to the aliens that mankind would not back down. The Xenos had underestimated their foe, and they would soon pay the price for their arrogance. In the wake of Outpost 42's destruction, humanity's response was swift and decisive. Shipyards across human-controlled space roared to life, their gantries ablaze with welding arcs and the thunder of heavy machinery. New warships, bristling with experimental weaponry, rolled off the assembly lines at an unprecedented rate. Veteran pilots and fresh recruits alike flocked to training simulators, eager to hone their skills and avenge their fallen comrades. But the war effort wasn't confined to the military. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, their minds racing to develop new technologies that could give humanity an edge against the technologically superior Xenos. Breakthroughs in energy shielding, propulsion systems, and directed energy weapons were made at an astonishing pace. Meanwhile, diplomatic channels were abuzz with activity. Admiral Zhao and her team reached out to every corner of the galaxy, seeking allies in the fight against the Xenos. Their efforts bore fruit, as news of the aliens' atrocities spread. One by one, other races who had suffered at the hands of the invaders pledged their support. The enigmatic Eldar, ancient beings with a deep understanding of the universe's mysteries, were among the first to respond. They sent emissaries to Earth bearing gifts of knowledge and technology. The Eldar revealed the true nature of the Xenos, their insatiable hunger for conquest, and their utter disregard for other forms of life. They shared their insights into the Xenos' tactics, their weaknesses, and their ultimate goal, the subjugation of the entire galaxy. With the Eldar's guidance, humanity's war effort entered a new phase. Tactical simulations were refined, incorporating the Eldar's knowledge of Xenos behavior. New strategies were developed, aimed at exploiting the aliens' vulnerabilities and turning their strengths against them. As the war effort intensified, the phrase "pathetic humans" continued to resonate throughout human space. Whispered in the cockpits of fighters and etched into the hearts of every soldier, sailor, and pilot. It was a constant reminder of the stakes, the enemy, and the unyielding spirit that fueled humanity's fight for survival. The Xenos, however, remained undeterred. Their armada, a vast swarm of darkness, continued its inexorable advance, leaving a trail of devastated worlds in its wake. It was a race against time, a desperate struggle to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. And then the unthinkable happened. The Xenos' armada reached Earth. The Xenos' arrival at Earth was not a surprise, but the sheer scale of their armada was a chilling sight to behold. Thousands of sleek, chitinous vessels emerged from the warp, blotting out the sun and casting long shadows over the blue-green planet. Their arrival was met with a defiant roar from Earth's planetary defense grid, a network of orbital platforms and surface-based cannons that had been reinforced and upgraded in the months leading up to this moment. The first wave of Xenos fighters, agile and deadly, swarmed towards the planet, their energy weapons blazing. They met a wall of fire from the defense platforms, their shields flaring as they absorbed the punishing blasts. But the sheer number of attackers was overwhelming, and soon the platforms began to fall, their explosions painting the sky with streaks of fiery debris. On the surface, cities went dark as power grids were overloaded, evacuation procedures were initiated, but the sheer scale of the attack made it impossible to save everyone. Millions huddled in shelters, their hearts pounding in their chests as they listened to the distant thunder of explosions and the ominous hum of Xenos engines. The United Earth Fleet, bolstered by their alien allies, engaged the Xenos Armada in a desperate battle for control of the skies. Human fighters, sleek and agile, danced around the bulkier Xenos vessels, their energy cannons tearing into the aliens' hulls. Eldar warships, graceful and powerful, unleashed devastating barrages of psychic energy, ripping through the Xenos formations. But the Xenos were relentless. They pressed their attack, their numbers seemingly endless. Human and Eldar ships fell, their crews sacrificing themselves to buy time for the evacuation efforts. The battle raged for days, the skies above Earth ablaze with the light of 1,000 suns. Despite the valiant defense, the Xenos managed to establish a beachhead on the planet's surface. Their ground forces, monstrous creatures with razor-sharp claws and chitinous armor, swarmed across the continents, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Humanity's last stand was a desperate one. Soldiers, bolstered by hastily assembled militias, fought tooth and nail to defend their homes and families. Guerrilla tactics were employed, ambushes and hit-and-run attacks slowing the Xenos advance, but failing to halt it. Amidst the chaos and destruction, a glimmer of hope emerged. The Eldar, having analyzed the Xenos' tactics and communications, discovered a critical weakness in their command structure. They relayed this information to Admiral Zhao, who immediately saw an opportunity to turn the tide of the battle. A daring plan was hatched. A small, elite strike team comprised of the best pilots and soldiers humanity and the Eldar had to offer would infiltrate the Xenos flagship and disable its command and control systems. The hope was that this would throw the Xenos armada into disarray, giving the human and Eldar fleets a chance to regroup and launch a counterattack. The strike team, led by Commander Carter, who had miraculously survived the destruction of Outpost 42, embarked on their mission in a state-of-the-art stealth vessel. Its hull coated in a material that rendered it nearly invisible to Xenos scanners. They slipped through the chaos of the space battle, weaving through the wreckage of destroyed ships and dodging incoming fire. As they approached the Xenos flagship, a gargantuan, bioorganic monstrosity pulsating with an eerie energy, they were met with a swarm of Xenos fighters. The Eldar pilots, masters of aerial combat, engaged the enemy, their ships darting and weaving through the vacuum of space, their energy weapons blazing. The human pilots, meanwhile, focused on protecting the stealth vessel, their shields flaring as they absorbed the Xenos attacks. The battle was fierce, the sky filled with the blinding light of their energy weapons and the deafening roar of explosions. But the strike team persevered, their determination fueled by the knowledge that the fate of Earth rested on their shoulders. After what seemed like an eternity, the stealth vessel breached the flagship's defenses, its cloaking device shimmering as it entered the alien vessel's hangar bay. The strike team disembarked, their weapons at the ready. They moved quickly, their footsteps echoing through the organic corridors of the alien ship. They encountered resistance along the way, but the Xenos warriors were no match for the combined might of the humans and Eldar. Carter, his face devoid of emotion, his mind raced to one thing: pathetic humans. Then, without a second thought, led the charge, his plasma rifle spitting bolts of searing energy. They fought their way to the ship's command center, a vast chamber filled with pulsing organic consoles and towering screens displaying tactical data. The air was thick with the stench of decay and alien pheromones. The strike team quickly set to work, their fingers flying over the data pads as they uploaded a virus designed to disrupt the Xenos communications network. The Xenos, alerted to the intrusion, swarmed to the command center, their claws clicking on the organic floor. A desperate battle ensued, the strike team fighting for their lives against overwhelming odds, but their training and determination prevailed. They managed to upload the virus just as the Xenos closed in, their alien screams filling the air. The effect was immediate and devastating. The screens in the command center flickered and died, the tactical data replaced by a cascade of error messages. The Xenos warriors, their communications disrupted, fell into disarray, their attacks becoming uncoordinated and ineffective. The strike team, battered but alive, retreated to their stealth vessel, leaving behind a scene of chaos and confusion. As they made their escape, they could hear the echoes of the Xenos' distress signals, a symphony of despair and frustration. The tide of the battle had turned. With the Xenos' command and control disrupted, their once coordinated attacks devolved into chaos. On Earth, the alien ground forces faltered, their movements becoming erratic and disjointed. The human and Eldar defenders, sensing the shift in momentum, redoubled their efforts. In the skies, the United Earth Fleet and their Eldar allies pressed their advantage. Human pilots, their spirits lifted by the news of the strike team's success, flew with renewed vigor. Their fighters, like avenging angels, tore through the disjointed Xenos squadrons, their energy cannons carving fiery paths through the alien vessels. The Eldar warships, their psychic energies amplified by the chaos in the Xenos ranks, unleashed a devastating barrage of psychic attacks. Xenos ships, their crews reeling from the psychic onslaught, exploded in showers of organic debris, their screams of terror echoing through the void. The tide of the battle had turned. The Xenos, once seemingly invincible, were now on the back foot, their forces disintegrating under the coordinated assault of the human-Eldar alliance. The momentum shifted rapidly, and the defenders of Earth, fueled by hope and a thirst for vengeance, pressed their advantage relentlessly. The Xenos flagship, crippled by the strike team's sabotage, became a focal point for the human and Eldar fleets. It was a symbol of the Xenos' arrogance and brutality, and its destruction would be a powerful message to the invaders. The final assault was a spectacle of coordinated fire and unwavering courage. Human and Eldar ships, their weapons blazing, converged on the flagship, their shields flaring as they absorbed the Xenos' desperate counterattacks. The flagship, its organic hull riddled with wounds, shuddered under the relentless bombardment. With a final agonizing groan, the flagship exploded, its organic matter scattering into the void like a burst of putrid confetti. The shockwave rippled through the Xenos armada, causing further chaos and panic. The remaining Xenos vessels, their command structure shattered and their morale broken, fled into the warp, leaving behind a trail of wreckage and the bitter taste of defeat. The victory over the Xenos was a monumental triumph for humanity, a stark warning to the Xenos that mankind would fight even with a bloody nose. But it was a victory bought at a terrible cost. Earth, once a vibrant jewel in the cosmos, was scarred and broken. Cities lay in ruins, their once proud skyscrapers reduced to skeletal husks. Millions had perished in the conflict, their lives extinguished by the Xenos' brutality. The task of rebuilding was daunting, but humanity, with the support of their Eldar allies, faced the challenge with characteristic determination. The phrase, pathetic humans, once an insult, had become a war cry that would make anyone second-guess fighting with mankind. It was emblazoned on banners, whispered in prayers, and etched into the minds of a people who had stared into the abyss and refused to blink. Commander Carter, hailed as a hero, returned to Earth to a hero's welcome. He bore the weight of his fallen comrades' sacrifices heavily, but he also carried the hope for a brighter future. In a speech before a crowd of millions, he spoke not of vengeance, but of unity and the importance of remembering the lessons learned from the war. "They called us pathetic," he said, his voice echoing across the ravaged landscape. "They underestimated us, underestimated our spirit, our will to survive. But we showed them what humanity is capable of. We showed them that we will not be bullied. We will not be conquered. We are not pathetic. We are human, and we will endure." In the aftermath of the war, humanity emerged as a stronger, more united species. The bonds forged in the crucible of conflict transcended national boundaries and cultural differences. The Xenos threat had awakened something primal within humanity, a collective consciousness that recognized the importance of cooperation and understanding. The rebuilding of Earth was a global effort, an homage to the newfound unity of mankind. From the ashes of destruction, new cities rose, more resilient and sustainable than before. The scars of war remained, a constant reminder of the sacrifices made and the lessons learned. But they were also a reminder to the adaptability of humanity, a species that had faced its darkest hour and emerged stronger than ever before. The phrase, pathetic humans, lived on, not as an insult, but as the battle cry, a symbol of man's ability to use an insult to summon up a rage no alien could quell, and a reminder of the potential that lies within each and every human being. It was a reminder to the galaxy that even in the face of overwhelming odds, humanity could rise above, unite, and overcome any challenge. The Xenos had sought to destroy humanity, but in doing so, they had inadvertently forged a stronger, more united species, ready to face whatever the future might hold. The defeat of the Xenos at Earth did not mark the end of the war, but rather a turning point. The humans, emboldened by their hard-fought victory and the newfound unity among their species, were no longer content with simply defending their territory. They were determined to take the fight to the enemy, to reclaim what had been lost, and to ensure the safety of their civilization for generations to come. Admiral Zhao, now a revered figure across human space, spearheaded the initiative. Under her command, the United Earth Fleet, augmented by their Eldar allies, embarked on a campaign of liberation. Their first target, the human colonies that had fallen to the Xenos in the early days of the invasion. The fleet's first destination was the Epsilon Eridani system, home to a sprawling human colony that had been overrun by the Xenos. The planet's once thriving cities were now desolate ruins, their streets patrolled by monstrous Xenos warriors. The survivors of the invasion had been forced into hiding, living in fear of discovery and extermination. The arrival of the human Eldar fleet was a beacon of hope for the beleaguered colonists. As the sleek warships emerged from the warp, their energy shields shimmering in the sunlight, a wave of relief washed over the hidden enclaves of resistance. The liberation of the Epsilon Eridani was a swift and decisive operation. The Xenos, still reeling from their defeated Earth, were caught off guard by the coordinated assault. Human marines, hardened by the war and fueled by vengeance, stormed the planet's surface, their advanced weaponry cutting through the Xenos' ranks like a hot knife through butter. The Eldar, meanwhile, provided invaluable support from orbit, their psychic powers disrupting the Xenos' communications and sowing chaos among their ranks. The battle raged for days, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Xenos, outmatched and outmaneuvered, were driven from the planet, leaving behind a trail of carnage and the bitter taste of defeat. The liberation of Epsilon Eridani was a major victory for the Human-Eldar alliance, but it was just the beginning. The fleet moved on to other fallen colonies, liberating them one by one. With each victory, humanity's confidence grew, and the Xenos' morale plummeted. The war was far from over, but the momentum had shifted. Humanity, once a victim, was now a force to be reckoned with. News of humanity's resurgence spread across the galaxy, reaching even the darkest corners of Xenos-controlled space. The tales of their victories, their anger, and their unwavering willingness to fight to the bitter end struck fear into the hearts of the alien invaders. The myth of Xenos invincibility was shattered, replaced by a growing sense of unease and doubt. The Xenos, a race accustomed to dominance and unchallenged expansion, found themselves on the defensive. Their supply lines were stretched thin, their morale plummeting, and their once mighty armada weakened by the relentless Human-Eldar offensive. The war had turned into a grueling stalemate, a war of attrition that tested the limits of both sides' endurance. The Human-Eldar alliance, however, had an ace up their sleeve: their adaptability and ingenuity. While the Xenos relied on brute force and superior numbers, the humans and Eldar were constantly innovating, developing new tactics and technologies to counter the enemy's strengths. Human scientists working in secret laboratories across the galaxy made breakthroughs in energy shielding, propulsion systems, and directed energy weapons. These advancements allowed the human fleet to punch above its weight, engaging the Xenos on more equal terms. The Eldar, with their mastery of psychic powers, developed new ways to exploit the Xenos' vulnerabilities. They infiltrated the aliens' minds, sowing discord and confusion, and even turning their own weapons against them. The war dragged on for years, a bloody and brutal conflict that claimed countless lives on both sides. But humanity, fueled by their righteous fury and their unwavering belief in their cause, refused to yield. The phrase "pathetic humans" became the mantra, a rallying cry that echoed through the ranks of the Human-Eldar alliance. The Xenos, their initial arrogance replaced by desperation, launched increasingly desperate attacks, hoping to break the stalemate and regain the initiative. But the Human-Eldar alliance, hardened by the war and strengthened by their unity, repelled every assault. The tide was turning. The Xenos, once the dominant force in the galaxy, were now on the verge of defeat. The Human-Eldar alliance, once underdogs, were now poised to deliver a final, decisive blow. The final battle took place in the Zeta Reticuli system, a star cluster that had once been a thriving hub of Xenos activity. The aliens had established a sprawling fortress world there, a heavily fortified stronghold that served as their primary base of operations in the region. It was a symbol of their power and dominance, a monument to their insatiable hunger for conquest. The Human-Eldar fleet, having gathered its forces from across the galaxy, emerged from the warp on the outskirts of the system. Their arrival was a surprise to the Xenos, who had not expected such a bold move. The aliens scrambled to mobilize their defenses, their ships swarming like angry insects, their energy weapons blazing. But the Human-Eldar alliance was ready for them. The fleet, a vast armada of human warships and graceful Eldar vessels, moved with a precision and coordination that belied their disparate origins. The human ships, bristling with advanced weaponry, formed the vanguard of the attack, their energy cannons unleashing a devastating barrage that tore through the Xenos' formations. The Eldar ships, meanwhile, weaved through the chaos, their psychic powers creating a symphony of disruption. Xenos vessels, their crews overwhelmed by the psychic onslaught, lost control, colliding with each other or drifting aimlessly through space. The battle raged for days, a maelstrom of energy blasts, explosions, and the screams of dying warriors. The Xenos, despite their initial surprise, fought with characteristic ferocity. But they were outmatched. The Human-Eldar alliance, fueled by their righteous fury and their desire for vengeance, pressed their attack relentlessly, pushing deeper into the Zeta Reticuli system. The climax of the battle came when the Human-Eldar fleet reached the Xenos fortress world. The planet, a monstrous hive of organic matter and alien technology, bristled with defensive emplacements. It was a formidable obstacle, but the Human-Eldar alliance was undeterred. The assault began with a massive orbital bombardment, the combined firepower of the human and Eldar fleets raining down upon the planet's surface. The Xenos defenses, though formidable, could not withstand the onslaught. Turrets exploded, shield generators overloaded, and entire sections of the fortress world were reduced to molten slag. Under the cover of the bombardment, human and Eldar dropships descended towards the planet's surface, carrying legions of battle-hardened soldiers and warriors. The Xenos, their ranks thinned by the orbital bombardment and the morale shattered, fought desperately to defend their stronghold, but they were overwhelmed. The human marines, their armor gleaming in the dim light of the alien world, advanced through the labyrinthine corridors of the fortress world, their plasma rifles spitting bolts of searing energy. The Eldar warriors, their movements graceful and deadly, sliced through the Xenos defenders with their shimmering blades, their psychic powers amplifying their already formidable combat skills. The battle for the fortress world was a brutal and bloody affair, but in the end the human-Eldar alliance emerged victorious. The Xenos, their once mighty empire crumbling around them, were routed, their forces scattered and their leaders slain. The fall of the Zeta Reticuli fortress world marked a turning point in the war. The Xenos, their leadership decapitated and their forces demoralized, were no longer capable of waging a coordinated campaign. Their remaining strongholds fell in rapid succession, their once mighty empire crumbling like a house of cards. Humanity, having endured so much suffering and loss, had emerged from the crucible of war as a stronger, more united species. The victory over the Xenos was not without its costs. Millions had died in the conflict, entire worlds had been ravaged, and the scars of war would take generations to heal. But humanity had not only survived, they had thrived. In the aftermath of the war, a new era of cooperation and understanding dawned. The human-Eldar alliance, forged in the fires of conflict, blossomed into a lasting partnership. The two species, recognizing their shared values and complementary strengths, worked together to rebuild the shattered galaxy. The Eldar, with their ancient wisdom and advanced technology, helped humanity heal the wounds of war and rebuild their shattered infrastructure. The humans, in turn, shared their knowledge and resources, helping the Eldar revitalize their ancient civilization. The phrase, "pathetic humans," lived on, not as an insult anymore, but as a reminder of the challenges humanity had overcome and the potential that lay within their species. It was a demonstration that they had the ability to harness their anger, fine-tune it, and then use it to destroy their enemies. As humanity looked to the future, they did so with a newfound confidence and optimism. They had faced their darkest hour and emerged stronger than ever before. The war with the Xenos had taught them valuable lessons about themselves, their place in the universe, and the importance of standing together against common threats. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, filled with unknown perils and potential adversaries. But humanity, now a major player on the galactic stage, was ready to face whatever challenges the future might hold. They were no longer the pathetic humans of the Xenos' taunts, but a proud and resilient species, determined to chart their own destiny among the stars.